I'm Tom from Do It Yourself Home Automation, and this is a look at killing your energy vampires. So, what is an energy vampire? It's a device that draws power even when you're not using it, when it's just idle. And these really add up over time. So it's things like power supplies, phones that maybe are plugged into the wall that you're not using. Any kind of device that draws power even when it's idle. And the first thing to do when you're looking to kill your energy vampires is figure out how much power you're actually using when your house is otherwise kind of totally at idle. And the best way to do that is if you have a utility that offers a smart meter, which many do. I'm on PGE. Go onto your energy usage. In my case, I go to the day view and choose any kind of random day. And then look at a time of day when you are not using any power in the house. You think you're not using any power anyway. And the best time to look at this is usually the middle of the night. So I'm looking at these measurements down here, and you can see, at 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning, very consistent little line here at about the same level. And this is the background power usage in my house when nothing else is going on. I'm not using the lights, I'm not using the appliances or anything. And you can see, even with nothing going on in the house, I'm still drawing almost 500 watts, 450 watts of power. And this adds up over time. So my energy rate is about 30 cents per kilowatt hour. So that means over the course of a month, this background level of usage is actually costing me almost $100 a month, just to maintain this baseline background level. So energy vampires are responsible for a lot of this. And each one might use 10 or 20 watts, maybe even less. A cell phone charger that's plugged in, even though you don't have your phone plugged into it. An electric toothbrush that's not actually charging, just all of these tiny things, a printer that's plugged in, anything around the house that's using power, 10 watts here, 20 watts there. All of a sudden, without even doing anything useful, you're up to what I have, 450 watts, and in my case, about $100 a month. So how do we go around and actually eliminate these and save ourselves some of that money? I'm going to take a look at some of the energy vampires around my own house. So first, really obvious one is, all of this sort of maze of wires that a lot of people have under their desks or in their home. I know I'm going to get criticism for this in the comments, as I always do. Someone will probably point out Cheerio, as they often do as well. But you can see I've got all these devices: an UMA hub, I've got a Netgear switch, a Google Wi-Fi router. I've got a ton of these little individual power supplies for different things. And all of these are probably drawing a little bit of power. And overall, I'm probably drawing, 75 watts or more out of this. Now, some of these are things I'd want to leave on all the time, like the Google Wi-Fi router and the UMA box, but other things probably don't need to be plugged in all the time. So I have like a scanner, plugged in here. And those probably don't need to be on all the time. So the best thing to do to kill these energy vampires is have 2 different power supplies with these plug strips. One for things you do want to leave on at all times, like again, my Wi-Fi router and my UMA phone box, and then run another one where there's items that you don't need to have on all the time. And again, that could be a scanner, a printer, anything that you could switch on. Even if you switch it on in the morning when you're going to start working at home and switch it off, it's still saving you power. And it's a lot easier to make that category, and then all you'd have to do is just switch off one power strip. You could even put a TP-Link automatic switch on that and have it shut off automatically at the end of the day using your home automation system. So it's totally automated. So again, divide these into one strip that can be easily shut off, one for things that need to stay on, and then either automate or do it consistently to shut off the ones that you're not using. Another good category are phone chargers or device chargers that are not actually charging a device. So this is my Fitbit Versa charger. It's not doing anything right now, but this is probably using some power. I can feel that it's a little bit warm to the touch. Maybe only a few watts, but if you have a ton of these around your house, the power does add up over time. So, it's super easy. Just unplug it when you're not using it. It's that simple. But, if you don't do that and you have these plugged in all over your house, you're probably drawing an additional 20, 30 watts that you don't need to be just powering those converters that are taking the wall power and transforming it into, in this case, a 5-volt supply. Just pull that out of the wall. It's a super easy way to save a little bit of power. Another good category are appliances that you're not currently using. So you can see here I have my Nespresso espresso maker. I've got an Instant Pot. You can see there's a readout here. This is probably doing some kind of preheating on the water, or at least just keeping circuits on. Super easy, probably good in terms of it being a fire hazard too. Just unplug these two when you're not using them, then you're not drawing any power. And again, I think that's probably, some of these are not designed to be super efficient. So even just yanking that out of the wall, you're probably saving yourself 5-10 watts on each of these appliances. And then the final thing are background loads that you do need to have on, but that maybe you can optimize. So a great example of that would be a refrigerator. And this does have to be obviously on, and it's going to draw a certain background amount of power throughout the day. So it's not quite an energy vampire, but there's probably ways to make it run more efficiently. And the best way to do that is to look at the temperature that you have it set to. So usually there's a setting. If you have a digital one, you can usually get that on the keypad here. So I'm going to go ahead and hold this down for the 3 seconds that's required to get my temperature settings. Now my fridge is at 39 degrees. That's a pretty good setting. You want it to be under 40 degrees for safety's sake. Say I had this down at 37, 36, something like that. That's drawing extra power than I probably need, and that's going to mean a little bit higher usage as a baseline across the board. So, try raising the temperature a little bit. Again, I have mine at 39, and then you can take a look at the freezer. Recommended to be at 0 degrees Fahrenheit. But, if you don't have a lot of ice cream and things in there, you don't use your freezer that much, you can bring this temperature up. You wouldn't bring it all the way up to 32, again, for safety, but it probably doesn't even need to be as low as 0. Maybe I bring this up to 10 degrees or something. And again, just reducing that background level of power usage will cut down on your baseline power over time. And with a refrigerator, it's really important, though, to make sure it's still keeping your food at a safe temperature. So I would recommend, if you do make these settings, wait a day or two, get out a thermometer, food thermometer that's approved for that kind of usage, put it in a glass of water in the fridge or freezer, and just make sure that you're at an acceptable food storage temperature. But if you can stay in that range, and again, I've done that, and I actually use my FLIR camera to test it too, then you can actually bring these temperatures up a little bit and reduce that baseline power level of usage. If you have an electric hot water heater, it's another good way to do it, to turn that down a little bit so it's a little bit lower temperature. And again, these basic tweaks can cut down on power usage over time. So those are a couple ways to kill your energy vampires. Now that I've done these things around my house, I'm going to take a look again and do another video taking a look at what my baseline usage is after I make some changes. If you found this helpful in any way, or you want to see what the results are, or you just want to learn more about different ways to reduce your baseline power usage, please subscribe to my channel. It really helps.